Professor Brain Brown's research shows that vulnerability fosters good emotional and mental health. It is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists to tell their honest and authentic stories. I am your host, Sarah Nyakeri, who happens to be a scientist, informal science communicator, and I help scientists create personal websites. If you want to support this show, go to www.patreon.com/thevulnerable-scientist. You can also follow this podcast on all social media platforms at TV Scientist Pod.
I just checked the time here, and I realized we've been on this call for like what, 2 hours? Over 2 hours? Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that interview?
I didn't feel the time until I checked, so it must have really been very interesting.
I love that you said that. Oh, yeah, at least I'm not boring you, and you're not getting bored. But I'm loving this conversation so far. So
it was an interesting conversation. It is.
Yeah, it is an interesting conversation.
I was checking out your website, and I'm like, how do these segments get to be so many? How do these conversations get to be so long?
Now you know.
Now I know.
By the way, wait. So you're like, what came? I don't know. Came to your mind when you saw it? Like did it bring any anticipation?
So I looked at that length. Then I looked at the allocation in my calendar, because I think in the calendar it's allocated 30 minutes. When I booked the slot, 30 minutes, I was like, okay, so probably to be like those TV interviews, quick, so. But now it's the conversational style really justifies why we have those segments. Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually kipindi cha lala salama. I don't know how to say that in English. The last part of the conversation.
Yeah, it's not like we're supposed to be knowing Swahili with all this East African community.
Yeah, but you guys, what's wrong with you guys though?
But in Uganda, Swahili is largely reserved for the security forces.
Security?
Yes.
Like?
Almost all security guys, like police, army, what?
Oh, they know
Swahili. I think they teach them Swahili in their training.
Oh.
So sometimes actually, when people want to pose as security guys, they speak Swahili, you know?
Oh, okay.
Actually, even on this, like, for example, like these road checkpoints, if you speak Swahili, they automatically assume one way or another you're working in security.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because largely either people are speaking English or Luganda. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to know, though.
Yeah.
So if you want to look serious, you should start speaking in Swahili. Then someone.
Yeah, you speak Swahili, and people assume probably either a spy or an army officer. They start fearing
you. They stop, harassing you or something.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. That's so naughty, though. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the hobbies that you do when you're not doing science or science communication or policy stuff? Like you have nothing to do with that. Like there's no conversation in that. What do you do?
Well, there are about 3 things I usually do. One of them is trying to look for new food experiences. So I'm the kind of person who's always looking out for recommendations of what's nice. Where is it nice? So I'm always looking for these places, to test how they cook their food. It's not that I don't cook. I just love good food. I don't cook.
Okay.
And then I love football.
What is that, though? Huh?
I love football. I love football. I'm a fan of Manchester United.
Oh, man. So, I was hoping. You sounded like an Arsenal fan. Like,
no.
Genuinely sounded like an Arsenal fan. Now I'm disappointed, man.
I love happiness. Arsenal has a lot of sad moments.
That's a thing. I won't comment though. I'll just keep quiet.
If it's any consolation, this season Man U has had it very rough. I think you've had like the worst season in decades.
Arsenal.
This season, Arsenal has had us. Manchester United has had a very terrible season.
I've not been following Man U, but I know.
So for most of the weekends, for most of the weekends, Arsenal fans were dissing us because finally found ourselves in their
situation,
their position. Yeah.
Are you still trying to turn it back in some sort of way? That is nice. Do you know? I feel like Arsenal fans are just loyal people.
So are Man U fans. Trust me, for the past decade, Man U has had very terrible experiences with everything.
But their ego is up
there. Won the league in. Yes. You know. There's this African saying that when a rich man becomes poor, he'll not become as poor as a poor man.
Oh my God!
So Man U is a big team. Man U is a big team. So even if they have a bad season, their season will always have a few silver linings. Yeah. Even Arsenal is a big team. That even when Arsenal is having all these things, they'll always be in the Champions League. They'll be competing for the top 4. They'll be doing this, unlike those bottom table teams. So yeah.
Okay, so at least we can agree. What else?
So you're an Arsenal fan?
What did you expect? I'm loyal.
Yeah, I see.
I've been an Arsenal for 15 years.
I've been rubbing salt in open wounds. I've been rubbing salt in open wounds.
I've been an Arsenal fan for 15 years, but I'm not like
wow.
Like I'm not those people who have to follow for every single game. Yeah, but I am an Arsenal fan. I am an Arsenal fan. I was playing football, so. I used to play when we team up. I used to team up with people who are Arsenal fans. Like it was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you what did you wanted to say something about the football?
I've been a Man U fan for 19 years now.
Oh, so we are competing, right?
Yes. For 19 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Much respect. Quiet. Zip. Okay. Yeah. So what do you normally do during the weekend? You watch football?
I watch football. Another football to a sense that I haven't watched games that aren't really my team's games. As long as I expect a good game, I just tune in. It's like maybe Arsenal or Chelsea or Man City or Champions League. I watch.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I really love is movies. Somehow I find time for both football and movies. Usually when I've had like a lot of, for example, there's some days you do a lot of typing, a lot of writing, so your brain is really has had enough of thinking. Just I watch movies. So oftentimes I've watched almost all the latest good movies.
Me too. I'm out of movies to watch. I need recommendations, man. I'm just waiting for you to finish, and I'm like, oh, please recommend. I don't even want to know what genre you watch. I'm like, I need something to watch.
Yeah, as long as it's nice, I watch.
So which one was the recent favorite movie?
It's called Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Have you watched it? Yeah, they were looking for some bit of lost treasure.
Oh, it's an adventure action movie.
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
It's a modern adventure. It's like based in the modern times.
Okay.
It's like these modern guys trying to discover treasure that was long lost in those medieval times. Okay,
is there another one?
The other I've watched recently that I've liked is there's this movie. It's called Blacklight. Have you watched Blacklight?
No. I'm actually typing it so that it's in my history. Action mystery.
It's Blacklight. Of course, Spider-Man is good. I think you watched Spider-Man.
No,
Spider-Man No Way Home. Why? Spider-Man's good.
I don't know. I don't know. It looks like sci-fi to me. I don't even know much about it. So I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I love this blacklight. I will watch it. Anyway, we are promoting these people. They should pay us.
Yeah.
Okay. So when do you find time to watch movies when you're doing all these things?
Incidentally, because every day I have like a period of resting, I literally watch like a movie every day.
Why is resting important to you?
Yeah, because as a communications person, oftentimes I'm required to do work that requires me to think. Either I'm having to type an article, or even just
Sorry, you have to repeat that.
Also, I'm saying, as a communications person, most of the work I do can't be done passively. I am either having to draft articles or just even just the mere work of responding to emails, of designing documents for, let's say, conferences, workshops, and all this kind of work. So by the time I come away from office, like I've had a lot of thinking to do in that day. I feel like I need like 2 hours of a break, watch refreshen up, watch a movie, maybe get back to it later in the night. That's what I usually do.
Okay.
So I either relax on a movie, or if there is a game of football, I watch a game. Yeah.
Do you do any outdoor activities? Okay, I know you don't cook, so you said you don't cook, but you eat.
But I eat out, yeah. So I move around a lot.
Yeah. So what? Is there anything? So apart from that, that's the only outdoor activity: going to restaurants and eating.
Yeah. Much as I love football, I'm not a very athletic person. So yeah.
So what do you do to keep your mental health in check? Is the movies or
movies? You know how football is. I usually don't watch football at home. I go out, participate in a place where I can afford to shout.
You're one of those people.
Yeah, so
I know those people.
You meet there all these rival fans. Yeah, some rival fans come just to make sure they make life hard for you. So they are arguing, dissing each other, and it's a good time. Yeah,
because it's not like real dissing. It's just people
it's just playing banter,
Yeah. So that's the outdoor activity that. Do you read?
Oh, read. I usually read passively. For example, when I'm traveling between places, I spend a lot of time reading articles on the phone. That's why I do most of my
reading,
my updates, my reading, the news reading. Yeah.
Okay.
I usually find myself on Twitter reading article after article after article until I reach my destination.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So is there another hobby that you want to talk about? Or things that you do that have nothing to do with science?
I think at the moment, really, everything I do has one or another to do with science.
Okay, that's your life now.
Yeah, only that what changes is what aspect of biotech. It's all policy and communications, but in one area we are calling it agricultural biotechnology. In the other space, I'm calling it synthetic biology. In the other space, I'm calling it the bioeconomy. So I just keep switching terms and priorities.
For someone who doesn't understand what policy is, would you explain to them? Is it explainable?
Yes, it's explainable.
Okay.
I could say, for example, you're working on a vaccine. Yeah? Now, in the vaccine, first of all, at the development stage, you need probably to import equipment. Maybe you have to transport samples from maybe across the border. First of all, to start research, you need to have a license to do that research. You need to say, okay, in the case of Uganda, I don't know if it's the case for Kenya, but you have to be allowed to do that research. So policy combines guidelines, regulations, and laws. So they're more like, and also sometimes ethics. But usually they're those three: guidelines, regulations, and laws. So in science, there are lots of these, and the sad bit is that most scientists think they can ignore policy. They feel like they have feel like policy isn't their business. But I'm like, as long as you're within a country, you can't ignore politics.
Yeah.
Can't be like, let me do my science and politics will take care of itself. It can't work that way. So that's why science policy has really become a very key thing to think about. Especially with this era whereby we have lots of new emerging technologies. We have lots of techniques coming up that people didn't think of regulating earlier. So they are, as scientists are discovering them, also the regulators and the policymakers have to think through how to guide that kind of process. For example, now on the African continent, gene editing is becoming really a huge thing of late. People are thinking through how to regulate genome editing. So policy applies on those fronts. One, getting guidelines for your research. 2, the licenses you have to get. 3, shipping what you use. And 4, how, after you've researched, how that gets to the public. There are a lot of policies that guide that whole transition process from the lab to the public domain. So that's where science policy really focuses. And for communications, it's really largely awareness. Yeah.
What is that question that you would have loved me to ask and I didn't ask? That you would like to answer? Umechoka? Oh, you're tired. I have a tendency to talk to Ugandans in Swahili. By the way, I had I hosted someone just over the weekend, as you think.
Yeah.
And I was coming to do something. I don't know, some activity, some workshop that was going on. And he's from the other side of Kenya. Like he's in Kenya right now, and he's on the other side. So when almost all the time I was speaking to him in Swahili. I it's not me who was. I'm an international organization. We have people who are from different countries who necessarily don't speak in Swahili, but I always found myself talking to him in Swahili, and I'm doing it right now. I've been doing it for some time. I don't know why.
Well, it could be a marketing strategy
for
to market the language.
Maybe I'm a marketer. I just the other day I was saying I'm actually an attention seeker. If I need something to be someone to listen to whatever I want to say, I am really good at attention seeking and capturing someone's attention. Anyway, yes. Have you thought about it?
Well, it's really quite vague in my mind, but it almost. I think it's what you've been answering in this whole interview. What's that one thing that scientists tend to ignore that you feel they should always think about? And I think I just answered that previously, though you didn't ask it in that way. And in this case, I would say the communication and policy a bit of their work. I feel like, for example, in this whole debate of genetic engineering, these anti-scientists, find a gap that has been left by scientists in communication. They fill it up with a lot of disinformation and misinformation, and there's no one to address that. And yet probably it could have been a much better way if probably there was no gap in the first place.
Yeah.
Whereby it's not reactionary, it's proactive communication. So I feel like really scientists need to give that bit a lot. And the thing that I think scientists really have is that because they can defend their research in scientific gatherings, they assume they know how to communicate.
No.
I could give you an experience. For example, with Science Stories Africa, we invite these guys and we're like, what's training for a week? And they're like, a week? Communicating what I'm doing?
What?
But by the end of the day, they get to appreciate the difference between what they call communication and what we are calling communication. So I really feel like yes, science communicators, we have a role to play. But I think to also really make our work a lot easier if the scientists also got that skill. So that, every once in a while we have the researcher communicating their science in the language people can understand.
Yes. And why is it important that And I love this. I love that, but I really want to ask that so that you talk about that. I don't know what you say though. Why is it important that it's the scientists themselves to communicate? Because there's this perception that I've come across in the scientific community where they're like, once I do my work, I publish it. You as a communicator, go find the paper, read about it. If you want clarification, look for me, then write about it. Then that's communication.
Well, I think it's more about the authenticity of the communication, especially in the public domain.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, when most of these governments are going about the pandemic communication, they always try to get scientists to communicate the technical aspects of the side of this whole approach of the response. Reason being, the same reason as to why, in my opinion, as I said earlier, I want to pursue vertical growth first. Because I want to be able to communicate about biotechnology when people aren't asking who is
who? Like, who are you? Why are you saying this?
Where do you get the authority to talk about biotechnology in the first place? You know, so if, for example, a scientist comes up with this amazing work, you know, and is able to communicate it, people feel like they would buy into that way faster than if a third party was trying to get that same message across. So in that case, my work as a science communicator would be to guide the scientist on how to go about it. Or maybe to avail the platforms through which to do that. But the science should be having a bit of skill and experience in doing it. I think that the other thing why I really find that very important. I tend to find that scientists tend to research about things they're actually very deeply passionate about.
Yes.
Which passion tends to get lost as third parties take on the communication.
Yeah. Because then they do their job.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I've come to appreciate with the Science Stories Africa approach. That someone gets to tell you, why are they researching beans? Why are they researching Irish potato? As in, they could have easily done anything else.
Yes.
Now, for example, the very first time we told these stories, we got the professor working on the vitamin A banana, GM bananas, that have high levels of vitamin A. And he was able to drop back the motivation from as early as his childhood. Like, this guy always had this problem with him and was wondering what to do about it, and eventually found himself in the position and he could actually do something about the problem. I'm thinking the more we humanize these experiences, the more people will stop thinking that you're trying to kill them with our science.
I feel like you're a pastor and I'm the audience and I'm so excited. You know that lady who's at the front, they're like, amen!
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're saying things I'm like, yes, this is how we're supposed to be doing communication. Humanize the scientists and let them communicate the science themselves to the public.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So that people connect with people.
Yeah. There's something we tell investors that whereas your ideas could be brilliant, investors buy into people.
Yes.
You know? That's why always this story around the investment always makes a good pitch. So the same thing comes to our science. When you're trying to convince people why you should care about the banana or about the vaccine or about, even if it's just a new value-added product from maybe cassava, they need to know why they should care. Yes. They should need to know that you also care about what they care about.
Yes, and they should see the vulnerable side of it. That's why I have a podcast called The Vulnerable Scientist.
Yeah. It's a very good initiative.
Oh,
very good.
Amen. Like, I've wanted to say amen. So
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Santi. Guy. So, is that all before I interrupt?
Yeah, really. I think if scientists were more willing to do that, I think all these debates lasting decades over a bill would be long done. Yeah, but then people think we are doing research because of money, really? No. I don't think the research jobs are very lucrative compared to working.
They're not lucrative at all.
Yeah. People are here because they're passionate about what they're working on.
Yes.
Yeah. And this gets lost in these discussions. They're like, donors are doing this, they're doing that. I'm like, really? Why would the donor fund a banana that's being grown in Africa when they can't grow it in that area? There are things bigger than money that people care about.
Yes.
And they need to come out clearly. So I think that's really the message I wanted to drive home, especially for scientists and researchers. Let them just take a minute or two to bother about learning a skill in communication. It will be very good for them. And for their research. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like you've just completed the argument that I've been having in my head and with people.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear someone else say it in a very clear way. Is there anything that you want to add about
No. I think for the interview, I think really that was all I had to say for now. Oh, the other thing I would like people to remember is that always be willing to give first before you seek to be given. I think in this, I find that for many people my age and below, find that a bit of hard. Whenever you want to give someone an assignment,
your age is 25, just to be clear.
Yes, 25. I'm still a young person. So we always want to, they say, quick gratitude or, quick rewards, gratification for what we do. And I feel like, in this world whereby they're asking us for 10 years of experience, they're asking us for these degrees, which realistically we can't always have right away from campus.
Yeah.
It always becomes important to give what you have. You have the energy, you have the time, So start by giving that. Somehow, somewhere, you'll be given back. Yeah.
And you learn a lot from that.
You learn a lot from it. You get invaluable experience probably you wouldn't get any other way. Because, for example, I could give an example. In Naro, I think that the lowest qualification in the employing is a master's, yeah? So that means as an undergraduate of biotechnology, there would be no other way. I would get in there if I wasn't willing to give my time for free first. Show people what you can do, then maybe one or another. All these are human beings. It's the system, but it's the human beings. Yes. They appreciate, they see the motivation, they see what you're doing, they see all things that you're doing, and it will eventually fit in. Otherwise, when you really aren't willing to give, then you should have little expectation for receiving.
Punchline. So we've talked from 7, so it's 8, 9, 10. These are 3 hours of conversation. Question is, how do you feel after having this conversation?
Oh, well.
Well.
I think one thing it has really done is to give me a chance to reflect on the journey that I have walked so far. I think probably sometimes when the things happening in a very fast-paced manner, you really get time to to realize how far you've gone along the path. So I think it has been a very good point of reflection. And I'm also really thankful for the opportunity. This almost feels like the fellowship. This is my first. I'm thinking in a few years I'll be like, this is my first podcast interview. So I'm like, wow. I almost feel like when I saw the other people you have on the website, I was like, wow, aren't I an imposter?
Really?
Yeah. So this is like that fellowship, but I'm like, probably I'm doing something right anyway. So. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to share that story. Right. Thank you.